Hello everyone and welcome here to the Daily Quest episode number 36. My name is Solid Jake and today we are once again talking about, again, Greymane, as it is Greymane week. So pretty much every single video has been Greymane, but today it's not EduCast. We did EduCast a bit earlier this week. We've mixed it up and we're talking about competitive builds with Greymane. And, we're going to take a look at a replay sent to us by Snitch. Snitch, of course, known to be one of the top assassin players over in Europe. And I'm very excited to see exactly how he approaches the hero. Now, Greymane, as we know, he has the multiple stances. He has kind of the Worgen form with the increased damage, but he's at risk because he's a melee hero. And then we have the ranged Greymane. And we also have three different builds that have all seen some good success in different playstyles for Greymane as a hero. So just kind of swapping over and taking a look at those builds right off the bat. The first build here on the left, labeled the Ranged Burst Greymane, of course a little bit more of a ranged hero with this style, is the build that we will see Snitch playing in his replay as far as I understand it. I haven't watched it yet. But really the core idea behind this build is going for that Gilnean cocktail and getting the burst damage from that Gilnean cocktail to weaken the target down to the point where you can kill them quickly with Go for the Throat. So obviously level 1 you can go for Wolf Heart. It's either Wolf Heart or Viciousness. He really doesn't need perfect aim for the mana retention, and he really doesn't generally want to go for the scented tincture because, yes, there's a stealthy, it can be very good, but at the same time, Wolfheart just allows you to get that cooldown on Gilnean Cocktail, or get the cooldown, on Inner Beast much more quickly so that you can have it ready to pop the Inner Beast and get the empowerment for your Gilnean Cocktail for that big damage. Now, the way the build works is you go for Draught Overflow at level 4 after Wolfheart at level 1. Draught Overflow is going to give you that increased explosion length, so now your Gilnean Cocktail goes much further when it explodes. And then Incendiary Elixir, it's more about getting the guaranteed explosion than the increased target on the primary, or the increased damage on the primary target. This is really just going to make him have kind of like a long-range flame strike that really hits from very far away. Level 10, you go for the Throat. That's when the targets get low, you can get those kills and potentially use it twice. And then level 13, you will actually go for Visceral Attacks. This is just to reduce that cooldown. Once you know you can get in there, once those targets are already low, you're going to want to be cleaving them down as much as you can. So you've got that burst splash from range, you go in the Worgen form, you get the Visceral Attacks, you pop the Go for the Throat, you get the kill. But at 16 is when it gets really scary because popping Inner Beast does 80% additional damage. So towards late game, you're going to be hitting for around 800 damage with that Gilnean Cocktail if you pop the Inner Beast and throw out the Gilnean Cocktail with Consecrated Blast. And it hurts quite a bit. And at level 20, Snitch knows he can snowball those fights. He knows he can steamroll, so he grabs Unleashed. This is where you could consider getting a little bit more creative with your talents. You could look at one of the other options if you're not confident in your Go for the Throats, but if you are confident, oh my goodness, it is devastating once you start getting that snowball rolling. Now, the other styles, which we won't necessarily be looking at today, we've talked a little bit about on stream throughout the week, but I run the ranged AA Greymane quite a bit. It's very much like Raynor, and the idea behind that build is really just to keep those auto attacks up. You're going to auto attack with 20% additional range, do as much damage as you can. Go for the Throat, still the standard, just because it's very good for finishing off targets. At level 13, you get that additional movement speed, so then you can start kiting like a boss. I mean, the kiting makes Greymane so very difficult to kill. Relentless Predator, just because Greymane doesn't really have an escape, so he's quite vulnerable to stun lock, but Relentless Predator really fixes that and makes it much harder to kill Greymane. And at level 20, you'll go for Hunter's Blunderbuss. So that is just the straight up range auto attack style of Greymane. And then the third build we have listed here is the Wizened Duelist. Now, this is the one build that we have listed here that really has a focus on auto attack from melee range. And the reason that we often don't see this as much in Quick Match or in Hero League or just in competitive quite yet, I'm sure it will be a thing in the future. I just haven't personally seen it done too much. But is because Greymane is really quite vulnerable, right? He doesn't have that same kind of safety available at all times. But when you're in Worgen form, you do have Disengage, and it can work very well. But so we do see in this build, you're going for a lot of extra auto attack damage, but you're also going for a lot of survivability. So level 1, you're going to be going for viciousness, and this is going to just allow you to keep up that auto attack speed longer. If that target's kiting away, it's trying to get away from you, it just gives you that 1 extra second of buffer, and it also gives you the refresh on your ability. Even when you use your swipe in Worgen form, the Razor Swipe, it will allow that combo to continue steamrolling forward. That's why viciousness is preferred for this style over Wolfheart, because you really, once you're going in there, you're activated and you're committed for that fight. So level 4, Eyes in the Dark. This is going to give you stealth after you disengage away. That's going from Worgen to human, and that's going to help you stay alive much, much better. On the level 7 talent here for our third build, you'll actually go for Wizened Duelist, and this is the key part of this. It's all about getting kills and then empowering those auto attacks. This is gathering power for auto attacks, but if you die, you lose it. So you really need to stay alive. That's why you're going to be going for Eyes in the Dark. You want to make sure you have that escape. You're going to spend most of the game actually in Worgen form for this, because yes, Worgen form has the additional auto attack damage, 40% more damage, so you hit much harder, and you have great clear with the Razor Swipe. So you just want to make sure that you can get those kills, and it's much easier to get those kills when you really start to pick up a lot of kills is level 10 when you get go for the throat. Yes, you'll notice none of these builds use mark for the kill, because go for the throat is just that much more useful. I mean, Greymane's kind of a burst hero to some extent, and he can really just line up those kills and just keep snowballing forward. Now, go for the throat can be dodged, right? You can use Ice Block if they go for the throat on you. A Zeratul can blink out of the way the moment go for the throat is used. Even like a Leaping Strike from Lunara would end up juking go for the throat. So this is something you need to be cautious about when you do end up using it, but it's still a very powerful heroic. Down to level 13, you're going to go for Running Wild. This is an additional 35% range on disengage. Remember, you want to keep those Wizened Duelist stacks, so having the additional range and the stealth, crucial for those late game, stuns, the big burst damage coming out. You need to get to safety to the best of your ability, and Running Wild is a big part of enabling you to do that. At level 16, Alpha Killer. This is basically Giant Killer while in Worgen form only. So this is 3% more damage on top of all the damage he already does in Worgen form. And then at level 20, you're actually just going to go straight up for Tooth and Claw. You got that big cleave damage every time you're hitting with those autos. When you're in the front line, you're just doing ridiculous damage. If you have a medic healing you, if you have an Uther healing you, honestly, having a big healer is crucial for the Worgen style play. But oh my, Greymane just becomes way too scary to just allow him to go. The enemy team pretty much has to swap their focus and try to kill you, try to stun you, try to control you in any way possible when you're running in like that. But this build just does insane amounts of damage when you do commit for those fights. But today, like I mentioned, we're really just going to be taking a look at the first build. Now, we talked about it. Snitch has sent us a replay, and let me actually just load that bad boy up, and we will take a look at it. It is on a prior patch because they did release a hotfix in the middle of this week, and this is one of his first games played on Hero League with the hero, but he said he thinks this is the most successful way to play Greymane as a hero. So the game's just going to load on up into the new client, and it's actually going to be on Blackheart's Bay. Like I mentioned, I have not watched this replay yet, but Snitch is confident that this is a good example of this build, and we actually see the enemy team has a Zagara, and this is one of the things that he immediately mentioned to me when he was talking about Greymane as a hero. He said one thing about Greymane is his ability to really bully Zagara out of lane. And Zagara is one of those heroes that is so very strong and dominant when it comes to a solo lane situation. We talk about solo lane heroes, I mean Zagara, Chen really at the top of their game, but if Greymane can be a really formidable laner when it comes to just 1v1 fights, that could definitely give him additional viability. Now, throughout this past week, we've talked to several competitive players, pro players at that level as well, and asked their opinions about Greymane, and it's really split. A lot of pros think that he's actually phenomenal, and he's going to be not necessarily a first-pick hero for competitive, but a viable hero when it comes to competitive play. But other players have just come out and said, I don't have any interest in him. I don't think he's going to make a wave at all, and I don't think he'll be viable in the least bit because he's just too vulnerable when he's in that human form. He doesn't have that survivability. There's no self-heal at all, and he's just too reliant on support. So it'll be really interesting to see, this hero develop with the meta, and we do see this is a bottom lane with Snitch versus Zagara lone. Now, looking at the compositions, it's Uther, Kael'thas, Muradin, Falstad, and Greymane. So Greymane is going to be really rather happy to have that Uther for those big heals on his side. And you can already see his ability to lane clear just going going into Phoenix immediately with that Worgen form. Felix really shouldn't be pushing out this far, and he is dead instantly. Now, although Felix really walked a little bit too far forward, Snitch took half his health and damage, and this means he's at half health, right? There's no way for him to heal up. He used a ton of mana to do that, but he blew up Zagara like she was nothing. He's going to get these 5 coins here. You notice he switches to a sword when he's at melee range in his human form, and that is 5 coins. Full creep spread here. It looks like ETC ended up falling in the mid, and it is going to be a successful win here. Leo from Korea not going to be able to get that kill as the fly came out the last moment, but everyone here is very low, and Tyrande does end up falling as well. Some impressive start here by the blue team so far. Zagara creeping up the turn, and this is a very good thing to do as a Zagara player. If you're playing Zagara, you're playing Abathur, you should always have a tumor or mine whenever possible at that turn in, so you can alert your team that, hey, the enemy team is trying to turn at this point in time. A very valuable thing to do. So just looking at the builds very quickly, we can see that Greymane did go for the Wolfheart level 1, and that's what you tend to expect. He's going forward with that Worgen form onto Zagara as he sees ETC, and this is a critical thing we need to talk about. As he uses the Q to get forward, huge. Everything about that is so crucial, and this is the perfect thing to point out to Greymane players, and it's a hard thing to get used to. He sees the ETC coming in on him, so he goes away from his base. Why? Because there's no way to actually dash away in the human form. He knows his only chance of survival is getting that disengage off cooldown. So what he does is he actually uses that lunge forward dark flight onto Zagara. So he just uses that to go forward towards Zagara. He baits out some abilities, and then he starts running the opposite direction. And as soon as ETC is getting close in range, he uses his swipe forward to actually close the gap slightly, and then the 6 seconds are up. He's able to disengage forward back into his human form and get out of that fight. Everything about that was exactly what you have to do with him. Now, if Roaches dropped down, he would die, so that's a little bit scary there, but Zagara is not going to be cheeky and do that. He gets away with this 5 points and huge plays by Snitch early in this game, surviving the rotation of ETC. In terms of the coin collection so far, oh, these guys are both muted. The BM players are real. We do see there are a total of 9 there and only 1 on the side of the red team. So holding those 5 is actually very big for the team. We do see the Stormbolt going out, and Greymane is on ETC in an instant. The power slide through him and the Lunar Flare double lockdown, but the heals from Uther are plentiful, and ETC goes down. Now Tyrande too far forward. We do see the stun connecting, and that is going to be lights out. That gravity lapse through the wall was just so huge for them. They pick up 2 for nothing. Falstad flying all the way back up, wants to soak this experience and push these minions away, and there should be some coins turned in. 8 in total turned in here for the blue team. A phenomenal start for them. Level 4 was picked up, and Greymane went for the Draught Overflow. This is just the additional rains on that explosion. So this has great utility. If a target's running behind the wall, you see they're going to get that splash damage. We saw the splash connecting there on Zagara. A whole wave of minions as walking down the lane will take a lot of damage, and Snitch knows his limits, goes forward, gets the damage done, and then is just going to keep swiping around here with the Razor Swipe and taking out this wave of minions. Even gets a tumor before he disengages forward, and it looks like he's going to end up rotating on up. Nope, decides to turn back around. Gonna wait for Felix to potentially turn around. He was just scouting out this whole area, making sure he was safe to hide in this bush, and he's gonna wait for Zagara to overextend in this lane. Looks like Muradin wants to clean up the creep tumors top lane, pushed a little bit here by the red team, but we see just a little bit of damage has been done, and they will be able to back on away from that situation. Zagara and Karazim starting to work on the first mercenary camp of the game. These giants here on the right side. We do see Sport Billy sitting on those 5 coins. So, you know, right now they're starting to finally get some coins in their pockets after picking up a few pirate camps, and it looks like Greymane is just kind of backing away, knowing that Muradin isn't anywhere nearby. It's a 2v1. Could be more in their side. He just doesn't know for sure because Karazim is currently not within his vision, so he doesn't want to risk getting picked off. Gilnean Cocktail spreading out. Level 7 was picked up, and that's why this talent is so crucial. He talks about level 7, the cocktail upgrade here, Incendiary Elixir, being so crucial because the guaranteed explosion gives you additional flexibility with the ability. So, you know, at the start of the game, you have to hit a target for it to explode, right? And you will not get that explosion whatsoever on a creep tumor in that regard because creep tumor does not count as a target. It sits underneath the ground. So things like the toads there that you summon from Nazebo, they will actually bounce over a creep tumor and not explode when it hits a creep tumor. But if they explode at the end of their path, they will finally destroy it. And this is kind of similar for his Gilnean Cocktail. He went for this, and he knows he can start cleaning up the creep spread by throwing it exactly where it was placed. And this will just give it the guaranteed explosion. So it's additional utility provided by the ability and the additional burst damage at the front of it. And Snitch is just kind of backing up. He's throwing that cocktail out. The additional radius does a lot of damage. And Prolu going in. The wolf form goes out and the Stormbolt enough for the kill. Just beautiful initiation. That 40% additional damage from the wolf form is great. The Razor Swipe enough to close the gap a little bit, and then he disengages. It's always best to Razor Swipe first. We've seen that twice here out of Snitch. He Razor Swipes, and then he uses Disengage. Going in, gets the heals from Uther, and we do see that it's very low ETC, and he does end up going down to that last Razor Swipe of Snitch. Looking at the stats, I mean, Worgen mode has been paying off when he goes in. He's been using the both forms very well. Top siege and then top hero damage dealt so far here in this game by Snitch on Greymane. Now this is Hero League, and this is, you know, rank 1 Hero League on the European server. Several pro players in this game, so this isn't just your random quick match. So it's impressive to see Snitch doing this well with this style of Greymane, utilizing the wolf form, you know, whenever he sees the opportunity to get that additional damage, and always just getting that great poke with the Greymane cocktail. Is Greymane the shizzle? Kael'thas says. Yeah, Snitch loves him. I mean, the Gravity Lapse goes out, and that's a dead Kael'thas. Stormbolt. Oh, the Radiant Dash over the wall onto Tyrande. So we will get away. Beautiful rotation by our Tyrande player, but Falstad is flying in, hungry for that kill. Not going to be able to pick it up. Getting out of there with the 7 coins is absolutely crucial. 12 in the pockets just between Karazim and Leo from Korea playing Vala right now. But Zagara getting bull in the bottom lane. It looks like Snitch is going to go for another kill. We saw the rapid incubation trying to heal through the damage of the Worgen form. That just will absolutely not work out, and Snitch picks up yet another kill. Heroics have been picked up. He goes for marked for the kill. Snitch, you lied to me. You lied to me in the build you sent me. So I'm actually really excited to see exactly how this unfolds. Now, the thing about marked for the kill instead of go for the throat, which we talked about so much in the build discussion, is that marked for the kill gives you a huge distance in which you can close the gaps. Once again, using the utility to blow that up. But you can really initiate onto that backline from so far away, and it's like having a Hunter's Mark. So if your team has good focus, it's going to just be 25% additional damage received, much like Hunter's Mark, and it can really destroy that opponent quickly. But you do extend rather far when you end up using it. So Snitch, proving me, going to show me some cool stuff here with that marked for the kill. We'll see exactly how well it works. Falstad making some boingy sounds as they work on this top fort, the first fort that will go down in this game. Just kidding. The second fort that will go down this game, and blue team sitting in a dominating position. 11-9, the red team cannot engage because they do not have their heroic abilities. It is just far too risky to even consider taking a fight, and Falstad goes forward. We do see Muradin in the front with Avatar trying to get those stuns. Does he have the Dwarf Toss available? I don't know if he's going to be able to get it. He goes forward. Stormbolt not coming out in time, piercing onto Vala, but it's not enough for a kill. Let's go back to Greymane Vision. Let's actually just watch from from Snitch's perspective for a short while here. We see him rotating around. They find that Zagara, and he goes on in with a wolf form and shred him in an instant. Lunar Flare on 2 targets. The Hydralisk almost got the kill, but the heal came through from Uther at the last moment. Some big plays, but during this rotation, during this level 10 advantage that we saw out of the red team, or the blue team, the red team got their turn in. They got those 10 coins turned in, and this will nearly kill this mid fort. I don't think they did enough damage on these towers to secure the death of this fort, but it will be rather close, that's for sure. Okay, well, we see Greymane going in once again, looking at that ETC. Once again, we're sitting on his vision right now. So this is everything from his perspective. We don't know what the red team is doing. We don't know what they're thinking. We only know what Snitch and the rest of his team know. So this is actually a fun way to actually take a look at the decision-making by the team. ETC comes through the wall with a Lunar Flare. Snitch manages to dodge it. A bit of a weird placement there, just going straight down, and he's on Worgen form. The moment that he knows Shadowstalk's use, that's the big heal, and that ETC is still very low. He is looking for the kill. The mod misses, but he's backing on up. Uther has to pop the Divine Shield on himself, but the rotation from the rest of the team is here. Mighty Gust push them back when they have that Phoenix down, and they're just going on in. The re-engage is real, and Snitch just knows he can't afford to go in himself. Greymane Cocktail, it's enough poke. He goes from being that range assassin, being a melee assassin into that Worgen form, and picks up yet another kill. Flame Strike going down. Snitch is overstaying his welcome, disengaging, gonna get out just before anything comes out. Karazim not too cheeky to throw anything his way, and Snitch just gonna hearth back home in the middle of the lane because he knows this is perfectly pushed out and safe as 4 members were down. ETC now respawned. Karazim, the one to survive that fight, just trying to defend this lane from being pushed out too far because it is the last remaining fort that the red team has, and blue team just sitting in a very dominant position. Looking at the talents very quickly, quickly, we can see the Greymane build. He has gone for On the Prowl. So this is actually the Wolf Heart with Draught Overflow, Incendiary Elixir, and then On the Prowl for the additional movement speed. So On the Prowl, this is just a little bit more, mobility here on Greymane, and actually the build that I had in my entire list, the build that Snitch sent me himself, is not true in this game. So cool to see build diversity. That's actually a good sign. If a pro player tells me this is how he likes to play the hero, but then sends me a replay with a different build, that means the build diversity is going to be huge on this hero, and that is a very, very good sign. But a red team taking a really good fight. Snitch manages to get the 1 kill, the heal from Uther, and he's going to get out of there. I cannot believe it. The Sentinel not ready. Oh, very close. Almost took Snitch out there, but he jukes it at the last moment. Tyrande wanted that kill and wanted it bad, but Snitch does escape the clutches of death, and now is going to tap the well and work on this mercenary camp most likely. Yes, he's just going to start poking away. We see the Gilnean Cocktail does work well, throws it out, and then switches to Worgen form. Razor Swipe, great clear here, and the 40% additional damage when you're in that Worgen form really just makes you shred through the camp like it's nothing, especially with the help of Kalthaz. That camp will be picked up quickly. 12 coins have been turned in here by Falstad, and that will be the final fort collapsing from this barrage that comes out. It looks like 1 shot will be needed to remove this tower, and we do see that the red team was able to pick up this bottom mercenary camp. Now Karazim just radiant dashing forward, just saying, look, we're here to fight. We want to keep this camp alive, but that mosh pit not really being capitalized on. The rest of the team is just being bullied in the backside. A huge 7-sided strike, almost taking up Murda, but not quite. Falstad too far forward, does end up falling, and all during this entire fight, we've had this huge push. They haven't done that much damage. We do see that Snitch decided not to rotate down. He's been pushing out with this Merc camp. He's been pushing these 2 lanes out, soaking 2 lanes of experience. They survive, only losing Falstad. Gravity Lapse almost takes out that Karazim, but not quite. So, I mean, honestly, Snitch's decision to not rotate really paying off here, as the team only lost 1 hero and defended the push of the Knights. Top lane, we do see the Knights were picked up here, likely by Zagara. Yes, now just showing herself. Felix is up here, but not willing to look for the fight with Greymane. It looks like Greymane is willing to look for the fight with Zagara. So going straight down the mid lane, we do see this push happening. This fort did barely survive due to that 1 cannonball going to the top lane. The Stormbolt goes out. Shadowstalk used very early in this fight. Snitch still in the top lane, but enough damage is done to take out ETC very early in the battle. Maw was cast, and that's going to be Holmes trying to run out of this one. Falstad flying into the action, and will have that Mighty Gust to disengage this battle if needed. And yes, there it goes. Dwarf Toss and Hinterland's Blast plentiful, and Greymane has just been left alone to push. Now that he has this wave of minions here soaking up the shots of that tower, he is shredding this. Vala got picked off. She poked her head forward. Stormbolt connecting. Zagara is dead, so not Vala at all. Vala is still alive, and Vala is here in the top lane. Snitch gonna leave. He's out of mana. His time is run up, but he's taken out the wall, and that is a very nice win for the team. We can see 9 coins turned in for the red team at this point in time, but blue are turning in several coins himself. They'll be sitting at 9, evening things up. They need 5 more, 3 more needed for the red team, but red is stuck defending this before they can even consider putting those 4 in that exist on Karazim right now, and the blue team is just constantly controlling the map here. They're even calling for a boss. That's how confident they are. They have that level 16 talent tier advantage. And just looking at the talents right now, we can see that Greymane has gone for the Consecrated Blast. So really, this is the big burst. You have the Incendiary Elixir, you have the Draught Overflow, and Consecrated Blast. That's when you pop the Inner Beast, you throw out the Gilnean Cocktail. It does huge damage to your opponents, and then you pop into that Worgen form, and you go for those kills. With On the Prowl, with that additional movement speed that you have in the Wolf form, there is no running away from Greymanes. And oh my goodness, he throws out the Heroic, dives onto Felix immediately, but he's a little bit too far forward, and the 7-sided strike will end up killing him. A little bit too anxious there, not realizing the rest of the team was there. I was baited. Send help. And it looks like he ended up losing his life. I think that's the first death of this game that we've seen on Greymane. Yes, that's first at 6 kills, 7 assists, and 1 death. A boss goes the way of red team while they're down a talent tier. So a big win that they desperately needed. Hunter's Mark on Uther, spelling a lot of damage for him, and a huge power slide into Mosh Pit. pit. Falstad jumping for joy, and the Divine Shield is used. Hammer going out there onto the ETC. They get the kill on Zagara, and they're turning it around. Gravity Lapse connects. That could be a Hammer of Justice. Stormbolt, and they have everything they need to kill ETC. The Living Bomb will seal the deal, and Greymane will be back up in just 3 seconds. Boss slamming away at the top fort. Mid fort did fall from the first onslaught from Blackheart. Still 3 more coins are needed for Red Team to get their second turn-in, and we've already had 3 complete turn-ins for the blue team, who are now sitting on a boatload of coins once again, sitting on a total of 20 when they only need 16 between these 3 heroes. That is more than enough for this barrage to go in and take out the first keep of the game. Bottom lane, we see Sport Billy Greymane going in immediately. He has that mark still active, and he uses it, going forward towards Sport Billy, doing a ton of damage. Shadowstalk used, Mighty Gust to buy the space they need, and so much damage, trying to use 7-sided strike just to stay alive. Sport Billy will be hit by the Stormbolt, and Falstad gonna get that slow. Kael'thas comes around, Flame Strike is not hit, but the Gilnean Cocktail, you saw that huge damage that came from it from afar. Snitch able to help get that final takedown on, or the second takedown onto Karazim. Now bottom lane, we see Tyrande in full on retreat. Zagara up here. The boss did manage to do a ton of damage to push out this lane entirely, so Falstad has to fall back and defend this lane. Now Falstad the best hero to do this, considering he can fly back out to his team when that time does come, and it looks like blue team just opting to continue their control of the turn-in space. They're going to keep the lanes pushed out to the best of their ability. This bottom keep did go down. The top keep is down to just about a sliver due to the push from Greymane earlier in this game, and then of course the onslaught from Blackheart's cannonballs. And we saw vision of members here, so they have a good idea that it is the mercenary camp being worked on right now, and they're just going to look to push through the middle lane. They want to force them back into their base. They want to force them into a defensive position while they control the entire map. That's catapults guaranteed for the mid lane, and they can easily poke down that top keep and secure themselves in even better position. Just throwing out those 2 abilities, the Gilnean Cocktail and the Hammerang, from such a far distance, able to take out that top keep, but the flank is happening. ETC in the backside, they find the Tyrande, they get the nice gravity lapse, and they're going on in the flame strike and the nice hammering there from Falstad, able to pick off that kill. Wolf form activated, and we do see a mosh pit, no, not mosh pit being used, just the maw and the power slide forward, not looking to set up the mosh pit, too risky right now, and so much damage coming out. That will be a kill on ETC. 2 down, 5 up for the blue team, and we do see a huge Mighty Gust going out. That's going to be a dead Zagara. No level 20 talents for them, so there's no Bolts of the Storm. Sport Billy with a Radiant Dash, able to juke the combos, but the huge Gilnean Cocktail comes out and picks up that kill, and Snitch is super far forward, but does not matter. It's just Vala remaining, and we can just see the power of this build. The Gilnean Cocktail for that burst damage, and then the follow-up of the Wolf form as you dive in onto the target and just do so much damage. It's a truly, truly powerful build, and you can see it all here. So generally the core concept that we talked about in the overview of the build remains the same. It's about the Gilnean Cocktail. It's about doing that burst damage once you have Consecrated Blast. Even before then, just having great utility with the Gilnean Cocktail, and then once you've weakened the target down a little bit and you can go ham, you pop that wolf form, you go in and you do as much damage as humanly possible and look for the kill. And if you have go for the throat, it's obviously much easier to get that kill. But we noticed that he was actually using the marked for the kill a lot in that game, or that was his heroic of choice, and that just gives him more options as to when to engage, right? It gives him that second leap forward for a long time. You have a huge window in which you can actually use that second launch forward, the reactivate on marked for the kill, and of course that 25% additional damage received when you're in Worgen form and you're doing 40% additional damage. Well, I'm bad at math, but that's a lot of damage. So once again, looking at the general overview of all of the builds here today, the one on the left is more or less what we saw. He swapped out the talent at level 10 for the other heroic, and he swapped out his talent at level 13 for On the Prowl for just a little bit more movement speed to make that Worgen form a little bit more mobile. Now, oftentimes he does mention that he will go for the level 13 upgrade visceral attacks just so we can use the razor swipe a little bit more frequently, and he will often go for the throat just because it's more of a guaranteed kill and much more flexible for those situations. But you know, we saw that work brilliantly for him. At the end of the day, we saw what for damage. He actually did not top the charts, but we did see that he rocked a total of 39,000 hero damage, keeping up with Kael'thas, not quite keeping up with Vala. We see those strafes got max value, doing a ton of damage in that game, but he outpaced Falstad. He was using the range mode, he was using the melee mode, frequently going between the two, and really this this is definitely an impressive thing to see in a top tier rank 1 Hero League player in Europe playing against other pro players just a day or two after Greymane being released. So does this mean that Greymane has a bright future for competitive Heroes of the Storm? I think so. I really genuinely think that Greymane is going to be a phenomenal hero in the game. I think he has great build diversity. All of his talents have a use. There's not a single talent I look at him and just say, I would never in any situation pick that up. His build is phenomenal. I have to commend Blizzard on the work they've done for this hero. He's super fun to play. Yes, he is definitely a hero where you have to be very aware of what's happening. For quick match, he's probably one of the weaker heroes just because of the fact that he's not a safe hero. It's easy to fall to a rotation from the enemy team. If you're not careful and you don't have great map awareness from you and your team, then it's very hard to stay alive because Greymane is very easy to kill. He cannot vault away. He doesn't have any self-sustain whatsoever. If you're in Worgen form, yes, you have disengage, but you often need to spend talents into that to really be safe in doing so. So, just great play by Snitch. Thank him. A huge shout out to Snitch for the replay that he sent in here for this video that we just made. And yeah, that is that. Now, I will actually link this in the YouTube video, but I have made an official daily quest thread over on heroesnexus.com in the video section. And I will be publishing the themes and the core concepts of the future daily quest going forward on that website. So you guys will know, Friday of each week, next week's daily quest will be posted. So right now you guys can go check that all out. You can see exactly what the themes are for Wednesday and for Friday. You can submit videos for the daily quest every single week. Every Wednesday will be Wonky Wednesday. It's a challenge that I initiate for you guys to partake in. And next Wednesday, I want to see you guys play Possession Sylvanas, push or feed. Push as hard as you can and feed if you have to, because I want to see exactly how bad that heroic is. Does it make a difference, right? Is it good? Is it at least somewhat viable? It's hard to say. I have never seen possession used successfully in a serious sense, but I would love to see you guys attempt to do it. So that's next Wednesday's theme, and next Thursday or next Friday we'll return to just being EduCast every single Friday. You can submit any replay whatsoever. Whether if you're looking for specific feedback, please include it in the email. If you remember the draft from Hero League, please include it in the email and submit all of those emails to the daily or solidjakegg@gmail.com. Last but not least, there is a new Discord server. I'm an official Discord partner, and you can find the Discord channel linked on my Twitch, or just type !Discord to get the information, and you can join the community and post in the Daily Quest chat for feedback, questions, discussions. You can even leave your replay there, and I can get that for a future episode. Thanks so much for tuning into episode number 36. We'll be back next week with ETC, Vala, Sylvanas, and then EduCast as our 4 themes. I'll see you then.